What's going on, folks? Eddie Carrington, Mayor of Flux City, and I am chiming in with you on Friday is when I'm recording this actual message. There were a lot of things that happened over the week that I should have had my camera out and should have been recording and capturing as best as I could, but there was just so much that I wasn't able to capture nearly as much as I wanted to. And so this is really short and sweet video that just kind of gives you an update for the week. We had our meeting with the property management company as we're getting closer to actually officially being able to lease out our units, our residential units, to potential tenants. We had to sync with the GC and talk through the processes that will need to occur, whether it be services to the elevator or an update to the fire suppression system and or an inspection of which. So all the way to keys and where we're going to house those keys and the access point for the computers and things of that nature, right? And although that wasn't that fancy of a meeting, it was really important, and it was really a milestone for me to actually be having those types of conversations about the impending group of individuals that will soon be moving into the site. So that happened earlier this week. We also had a good group meeting with a bunch of local developers and real estate professionals that allowed for us to sync and really talk through our problems, challenges, opportunities, and motivate one another to keep pushing. This real estate game is really tough. A lot of people kind of lean on the messaging that a lot of social media voices are sharing when it comes to the BRRRR strategy and making it look easier than what it actually is, especially here in Detroit. And therefore, having that camaraderie and that group of individuals that have the same mentality, focus, grind, passion, and has run into the similar challenges that you have had is important and helps us continue to kind of push through and try our hands at things that we potentially never have done before and level up from one category of real estate to the next. So really, really good meeting / conversation. Shout out to Marcel for setting that up. And we actually met at the Ribbon this week and had a really good conversation. Didn't capture any of that. I wish I did, but then again, I'm also glad I didn't, because a lot of that conversation is really meant for in-person shop sessions, in a sense, where we're able to really hash out some mid and low level challenges that we may be having. So that was a good conversation, good meeting. We also obtained our temporary C of O, and this is not ideal. This is not ideal due to the fact that I need a full C of O in order to check off some boxes that I have on my end with my funding partners, with insurance companies, things of that nature. But at the same time, we obtained a C of O, or a certificate of occupancy. And for those who don't know what a certificate of occupancy is, this is what the city issues the landlord, which in turn gives you the official thumbs up or green light that allows for you to allow for your tenants to move into this space. They're deeming this space safe enough for tenants to actually live in this facility. And we once again obtained the C of O, the temporary C of O, yesterday, which was Thursday. But what a journey to even get to that point. There was one inspection that was potentially submitted incorrectly from one of our subs that will end up getting handled on Monday. But at the same time, all of our inspections have been completed we've obtained a temporary CFO, and hopefully next week we actually have the full unrestricted CFO, even though the temporary CFO is good until March of 2025. I have to have that full CFO in order for, once again, me to check off some very important boxes from the landlord's perspective. So really excited about that. And I'm pretty much winding down. Oh, before we talk about cornbread, I'm about to grab a bite from Cornbread in Southfield. They have some of the best catfish in this area. And so definitely a big fan of cornbread. But there were also a number of holiday parties that I was able to attend yesterday. I only went to 2. There were 3 on my calendar. I was only able to make it to 2. I got burned out after the second one. But really enjoyed the opportunity to talk with Vince and his team, the architects for the ribbon. They actually had a holiday party downtown Detroit. Really nice spread. Layout was great, and we had a good time. And after that, the PR firm that works with one of my funding partners had their holiday party, and that was also pretty entertaining. We had a good time, and a ton of people that I ran into, I knew, and had good conversations, and even talked through certain projects that I'm thinking through with certain funding partners. And I was able to get some important information even in that space, even when we're having drinks and having a good time and everybody's all dressed up fancy and so on and so forth, and nobody's really thinking about work. Unfortunately, that's all my brain processes and focuses on, and I'm always thinking about projects, opportunities, challenges, what's keeping me up at night, what can I do when I get home, and when I do get home, how many tasks I can accomplish before I have to close my eyes and go to sleep until I wake up and do it again the following morning. But luckily, I ran into a couple of funding partners that in a way have the same mentality. They're constantly thinking about work and opportunities and how they could help developers such as myself tackle other projects. So I had a really good conversation with a number of or a handful of funding partners from different various entities, and hopefully those turn into tangible resources and options that I could fold into future capital stacks for other projects that I'm dreaming about as of right now. But really busy week. Missed a lot that I should have captured via camera, but as we're getting closer to the end of the year, maybe I'm just getting burned out, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to, or give myself an opportunity to provide you with an update, as I really appreciate the ones that have been following along and listening to me ramble. One more thing I wanted to point out, I do have a little bit of swag here, a little bit of Flux City swag that finally has been completed. Actually, it's been done for some time. I just finally had an opportunity to go pick it up, and you're going to see a little bit more of this brand and me rocking my entity pridefully, because this is me. This is what I do on a daily basis. This is what I think about. Flux City and its subsidiaries is something that is with me, on my mind, what I'm focused on 24/7, and therefore I want to make sure I represent properly. Another thing that I want to point out is what motivated me to officially kind of get my branding in this format and to put it on clothing is I ran into a buddy named Frank Malcolm from Atlanta, and he's a really good dude. He always thinks business as well, and we're sitting in the cigar bar one day, and he's decked out from head to toe, designer everything. He's a fancy, he dresses really well. but he had a $30 shirt on, and he opens up his coat and you can kind of see the logo of his company. And I'm like, man, that's what I need to do. Everywhere I go, I want to represent what I do in order to spark conversations, in order to potentially open up opportunities and doors that may not have been accessible had I not been rocking my brand. Even though my brand is a little different, you can't really tell what I do with this FC. If hopefully you kind of get the C from this logo, but at the end of the day, I still want to make sure I'm repping my brand proudly, and due to the fact that I am reminded how important it is from people like Frank and Mike Wright, who I ran into on Tuesday when we were having that developer chop session. And he also had his branding on his Carhartt vest. And so we had this similar conversation between him and I that I had with Frank. And that is, look, you got to represent what you're building. Otherwise, you may limit what you're building. You may limit your opportunities. You may limit the chance of you getting this brand out to somebody that normally may not have come across what you're working on, and it in turn sparks conversation, and you in turn have the opportunity to give your elevator pitch, and maybe 1 out of 10 of those elevator pitches that you're doing with individuals that ask about your brand could turn into something fruitful. So shout out to Mike, shout out to Frank, and I do recommend my folks who are in the real estate realm do something similar, right? Start rocking your brand a little bit more proudly, but not only on your person. It's really shocking to me just how many people don't brag about what they're doing on things like a LinkedIn or Facebook, or even LinkedIn alone. When we're talking professional aspects of your daily routine and or entity, LinkedIn is really a great tool for you to take advantage of. And I remember talking to another developer that I admire greatly. They've been able to accomplish a number of things throughout the city, and I'm like, hey, how come you don't post your accomplishments on LinkedIn? And he's like, well, I don't really want to feel like I'm bragging. I'm like, that's what LinkedIn's for. LinkedIn is made for you to professionally brag on yourself and share with folks what you're capable of. And this is one of the few times in human history where we have an opportunity to control our own narrative. And so this gives us an opportunity to share things that we want to share on a professional note. And once again, that in turn opens up opportunities for us to take advantage of in one format or another. And it is imperative, in my opinion, for you, a real estate professional, developer, investor, fix and flipper, whatever the case may be, it is imperative that you brag about yourself as often as possible. And if somebody takes offense to the amount of times you're posting, that's on them. Let them mute your page and mute the notifications that they receive when you post. But at the end of the day, your brand is your brand, and you need to do your best at getting it out to the masses in order to, once again, potentially be introduced to opportunities that you never realized are out there to begin with. And you do that via social media, via representation of your brand and entity, no matter where you go. And it is something that I really push to my my fellow developers. Make sure you share your story, and often. So with that said, I'll leave you be for the rest of this week here, and just chime into the next video. I'm gonna have some more updates for you that hopefully are a little bit more pleasing to the eye, as opposed to just me sitting in a vehicle talking to you in this format. But at the very least, I really do appreciate you chiming in, listening to me ramble, and I'll catch you in the next episode.